Okay, good. Alright, so I'll do the introduction later of who I am, a little bit more about myself, etc, etc, etc. This is around about 2009, so I'll call it 2009 Bright Meteor over South Africa. That's actually the name of a video clip on YouTube of that Bright Meteor event. So yeah, some interesting things in 2009. Bitcoin network was created. There was that flight 1549 that landed in the Hudson River successfully. 155 passengers survived. Barack Obama became the 44th president of the United States. There was a 6.3 earthquake that killed hundreds of people in Italy. There was also a tsunami that occurred close to the Solomon Islands, or on Solomon Islands, that was triggered by a 8.0 earthquake. That was in 2009. Usain Bolt set a new world record in the 100 meters, and the H1N1 was declared a global pandemic. That's just some physical context in that year, things that happened. So yeah, this is more about my testimony. So I'm going to give chunks of my testimony, and it will come through more and more, meaning I will make more recordings of my story, and I'll try and keep it short, between 8 to 12 minutes in general. So this was just about something, and I need to start somewhere, so this is literally my first video, and yeah, trying to start this whole testimony thing. I'm just going to readjust this camera a little bit, maybe get that Israel map behind me in as well. It's quite a nice little map about my journey in Israel, but that's a different story for a different time. So this is about 2009. So something physical that happened that year was, we were sitting outside. It was late in November. We were having a braai on the farm called Vogelsang. It's close to Ventersdorp, about 11 k's out on the Rietspreidam road. It used to be called Kliplaat Drift. And my brother Niku was there, and my dad's nurse Linda and her daughter was there as well, and we were all sitting outside having a braai, quiet time, just talking low-key. And the air, or the atmosphere, started shimmering red and green, flickering like this, and all of a sudden there was this bright light, and it was so bright you could visibly see the cloud outlines pretty much in the middle of the evening, and it looked like daylight, and the thought came to mind that it might be the second coming. That was what I was thinking. But only years later I connected that to a major vision that I had. And this major vision actually went like this, and it really only connected years later what the speck of dust was in the vision. But hopefully it will all come clear. Just something about myself. I've got a stain on my tooth. I used to smoke a lot while I did my engineering degree. I finished that at the end of 2017, and I used to smoke like 30 cigarettes a day. I still need to sort that out. I'm a bit a little self-conscious about this freaking stain on my teeth, this one tooth. Any case, let's not get distracted in what do you call it, insecurities, self-awareness. I'm still new at this. So yeah, earlier in 2009, it might have been 2008, but I think it was still in the same year as what this meteor came through, I had this vision. So it was about this whole scene. I was playing a role, and there were two actresses to choose from, and I chose a black-haired shorter girl, and I've met archetypes of this person before and after and since, I guess. So, since that vision as well, that fit this typical archetype female. And there was a tall, blondish, model-looking girl as well. But I chose the short, black-haired girl because she fitted the profile in terms of the gifting that had to come through, knowing that it was a setting within wisdom, that there was a certain gifting that had to be demonstrated. And we played the scene, and we really had good, in a sense, chemistry. We worked well together, and we worked well in the scene. But I could see in the back of my mind, almost as if in the subconscious, that the tall, blonde, model-looking girl was waiting and waiting and waiting for her chance. And it was like she was waiting for her chance in life, but her gifting wasn't the same spontaneity, because it was the gifting of spontaneity. The joy of the Lord is my strength, you know, that type of setting. And so she was just waiting and waiting. It was, the setting was a netball court close to the Moy River here at Potch. It was a specific venue there where they do the park run, or where they used to do the park run. Since COVID, I don't know if they do park run anymore. It's a 5k jog which people just come together in the mornings on Saturdays, but I haven't seen it since COVID. It stopped during COVID, so I haven't seen it again, so I don't know if it was revived. But that was the setting. That netball court was the setting where the cameras, action, rolling, blue. And the tall model looking girl was sitting in the back, pretty much as if in the subconscious, and I was observing her as well. And she was growing, I want to say fatigued in a sense, because she was waiting patiently, but like she became like a weathered man, and eventually she was a weathered man. When our scene ended and we returned to her, because we both returned to her, she was now a weathered man, an older man that was waiting patiently through the years, as if she became a street person, but specifically a man waiting, not getting much attention in life, you understand, that whole scenario. And we went to him now, and we started walking with him, because he stood up, and we just started walking with him, and we just listened patiently, because it was now his turn to display his gifting, what he was all about, what his story was. And he started singing a song very softly, as if like whistling a tune to himself in a sense. And he was just singing, you know, in a low-key voice, walking the bugs, walking the bugs, walking the bugs, walking the bugs. And we were walking alongside the river, and there I became aware that it was part of that many people were camping next to the river, and there were lots of people, I guess, catching fish or something like that, but camping along the river. And they were also just waiting for input from the Spirit, input from God, but they didn't wake up yet. And he just continued with his song, Walking the Bogs, and it was strange and yet somehow familiar, like when you were a kid and the ice cream van would come past, or the ice cream little bus would come past, and the tune would play, and the kids would come out of their houses to buy an ice cream. That was pretty much before the time when television took over our lives, because you don't get it much more anymore, that children will come out to buy an ice cream. It's a tradition that slowly died out. So I'm trying to finish the story. I said within 12 minutes. And so eventually people started waking up, and people started flooding towards him, streaming towards him, trying to buy bug walkers. And it seemed like bug walkers with this micro focus on solving issues, understanding how to solve issues with condensed energy, meaning to solve it, not wasting your energy, but solving it with maximum resolve, with the least amount of effort, in a sense. And people were just buying bug walkers, and I was amazed, because it seemed like bug walkers were these focal energy vortices on a focus on a certain issue and solving it. And in South Africa we've got many issues which need solving, and many people were starting to buy bug walkers from this weathered man, which represented Jesus now in the form of wisdom. And I was amazed, and I looked up to the left, and I was just utterly amazed, and I just looked up to the left, and my eye caught the speck of dust coming in, and this dust imploded like what you would imagine 0 point energy would be, or fusion or something like that. But it was a speck of dust, and when it imploded and gave off its energy, it was almost atomic in the amount of energy that one speck of dust contained. And you couldn't imagine it, but I clearly heard the word then coming through, and the kingdom is therein. And only later, many years later, I connected that experience of that bright meteor coming in while we were braying outside, and I thought it was the second coming, and the speck of dust that came in, and the clear word that resounded after that dust imploded and gave off its energy, and it was magnitudes of energy that it gave off, and the kingdom is therein. So, and the kingdom is therein, 0 point energy, a new energy release, understanding how much energy is in a speck of dust, maybe in a bright meteor. It's all the same sense, just on totally different scales. So we are scaling up to a dispensation where energy is going to become freely available with new technologies. A lot have been spoken about this. Corey Good speaks a lot about it. Other people, so many people speak about it. David Wilcock, everybody's referring to Tesla. Michael Tellinger talks about this, but this is not mainstream Christianity or box Christianity in a sense. Yet it's understanding what the bug is and getting to the passion and getting to the spirit, because the spirit is the real revelation of all that is. And connecting to the spirit and tapping into the kingdom of God is that 0 point energy field. We know it, we understand it, but we don't connect with God yet in the way that we should. And some people would say that's Christ consciousness. And this is now 12 minutes 33, so I'm going to stop it here around about 12:40 just to be happy. 12:44. Yeah, I'm 44 years old, getting to be 44 years old, 4th of July.